$100 a month sounds laughably small, like, what is that? A few lattes and a streaming service? But if you start at 25 and stay disciplined, that tiny number quietly becomes $1 million by the time you hit 65. Miss that window by just 10 years, start at 35 instead, and you walk away with $300,000. That's $700,000. Your future self will never see, vanished. Not because of a bad investment, but because of a Tuesday when you just didn't get around to it. This isn't sorcery, and it's not a sales pitch, it's compounding. The one force in finance that Einstein allegedly called the eighth wonder of the world, though honestly, the quote might be made up, which is very on brand for how financial advice usually works. Time is the engine, and most people just leave it sitting in the driveway. Now here's where we need to pump the brakes and get honest. Because for a lot of people, $1 million at 65 feels like a finish line. And in some scenarios, it genuinely is enough cushion to land softly into retirement. But the high income earners we work with aren't trying to cushion a landing. They're trying to skip the landing entirely. Surviving retirement and thriving in retirement are two completely different lifestyles. And conflating them is where most financial planning quietly goes wrong. One means you're rationing, the other means you're choosing, and the gap between those two words is everything. So the conversation shifts, and this is where it gets interesting. From how much can I save to how many assets do I need producing cash flow right now, every month, whether I work or not. That's not a savings question, that's an ownership question, and the math behind it hits completely differently. We're talking about cash flow from assets you control, real estate, businesses, investments, structured to pay you on a schedule your boss had nothing to do with. Not a 401k you can't touch until you're 59 and a half. Not a pension dangling 30 years out, income that shows up like clockwork, month after month, tied to assets with your name on them. Here's the misconception we need to squash right now. People hear real estate or cash flow investing and immediately picture either a landlord nightmare or a get-rich-quick scheme. Neither is accurate. This is a structural strategy, boring in the best possible way, built on patience, leverage, and letting assets do the heavy lifting while you sleep. History backs this up in ways that are almost annoying to repeat. Every major wealth transfer in this country runs through asset ownership, not wage accumulation. The people who thrived after every recession, every market crash, every this time it's different moment were the ones who owned things that produced income regardless of the chaos. The practical lesson is this: you don't need to swing for the fences. You need to be in the game consistently. With position sizes you can actually hold through volatility without panicking and blowing up your strategy at the worst possible moment. Discipline without a plan is just stubbornness. Discipline with a structure is how ordinary incomes build extraordinary outcomes. So let's reframe the whole thing with one clarifying question that cuts through every financial fantasy and fear. What does your dream life actually cost per month? Not your survival budget, your actual thriving on your own terms, no alarm clock life. Once you have that number, the only question left is how many income producing assets you need to stack to hit it, and suddenly the path isn't abstract anymore. It's an engineering problem with real solutions. That's a very different energy than hoping the market cooperates by the time you're 65. The irony is that most people spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they spend designing the financial structure that funds the next 40 years of their life. And we say this with love, not judgment, because the system wasn't exactly designed to make this obvious. Financial freedom isn't complicated once you accept that it's about structure, ownership, and alignment with the life you actually want. Discipline, sizing, and consistency will always outperform conviction, timing, and luck. That's not philosophy, that's just the ledger talking. And whether markets cooperate or throw a tantrum, a well-structured plan built around cash flow assets gives you something savings alone never can: options. If you're ready to stop guessing and start building, whether that's through real estate investing, home contracting projects, or connecting with the right lenders, check out our links in the description below and let's get you started.